This is a Castle fire setup for Devilhorn +5. So if you can't stand the heat, stay out of this build. But if you do like your enemies
extra crispy,
then this build might be just for you. In Devilhorn 5, you will need some AoE ground clearers to clear the enemies for you, and fire units, well, especially Goblin, can be a real cracked powerhouse in the right setup. I will show his items, and I will show all the items and all the levels and skill tree and everything in this video for this setup. But Goblin especially can be really nice. So this build does require Goblin and Windy to run as a fire setup, and Solar as a leader as well. And I must say it's running quite surprisingly nicely. The only weakness, I guess, this build has is MP, because fire heroes, they cost insane amount of mana. That's why you probably can see my mana bar going like up and down like it's crazy. It's having some seizure or something like that. But that is the only weakness, I guess. If you keep your worm thick and big and juicy, I guess you will be fine. So if you can manage the mana, then this build should be pretty decent. But let's go take a look, a little bit closer look on the build and what the units are, who are doing what kind of damage and so on. This build was recommended to me by Calypso, so all credits to him, and that is why we will call this build Calypso's BBQ Party. And to get the basics out of the way, this is running the Devilhorn +5 with the Power Claw. Calypso also does run this like this with the horn as well. I will show a couple of his waves at the end of this video, so you can also see his build, his account running this one, but I've been running this one for a bit more gold, and I do have the max 25 CDEs in this build, just like in my previous one, and 6.12 is the lowest pure wizard I can run with the 25 CDE cap. The battle results look like this. So, as I said, Goblin can be a real powerhouse in terms of clearing normal monsters, so Goblin is usually the number one in this setup. Sometimes Town Archers do out-damage them for me in this setup, but usually it's Goblin doing most of the damage. And then we have, well, Town Archers and the other fire unit Windy in here, clearing enemies. And then we have Succubus doing some damage, and mainly I want Succubus to be a boss killer so that we can get rid of the bosses faster in this setup. So the boss damage will look something like this. Windy does pretty much 0 boss damage, but the others do a little bit. Angels are there with static orb. I will show that in a moment as well. The ratios are somewhat in check. I guess you could run maybe a little bit lower ratios on the fire units and maybe increase the Town Archer ratio a little bit, so that's something that requires further testing. But this is running. The only problem is the mana, like I said, so because the fire units are so high level and they have such an incredible mana cost, that's why you will be having some mana issues quite easily. As you can see in here, the TNT factory from Goblin does require 1 million mana per cast, so that is insane amount. My Goblin is running items like this. So I have item quality, item with the TNT rune. You will want the TNT rune if you run Goblin. That is a mandatory one. The other runes are not that super mandatory. Of course, they do help. And the accessories like this, double attack speed, crit chance, with some fire damage runes. These could be attack speed runes as well, and also I guess you could run one own bonus gold rune on Goblin and on Windy as well, I guess. So anything that clears a lot of normal monsters, you could run like at least one own bonus gold rune, and that should be fine. I have the critical fire orb in here. Windy, the second fire unit, is using this kind of items, so crit items with area skill damage, CDE line in here, and Tornado +1. This is also a mandatory one that you need for Windy, especially Fire Windy, so that you can have 2 of the tornadoes going from left to right during every cast. And then we have some fire damage in here, and also some fire damage in here. The cooldown line does help to make sure that she is like in sync with Pure Wizard casts. You can also put her right next to the Pure Wizard to help with that, but you might still want one cooldown on even if you do that. You have to do that test for that for yourself. And I do have the other critical damage orb in here because the fire critical damage orb is on Goblin. You could also run Orb of Luck, I guess, if you need more crit chance for Windy. So those are the 2 fire damage areas in this build. But then we have Succubus, again, mainly responsible of taking care of the bosses. Of course, she does kill a lot of normal monsters as well, because she has incredible attack speed and incredible damage as well, so a great asset. And also, because this build will allow a pretty good farming as well for Bone Dragon and dungeons, so that is why I also want to kind of have and save Succubus in the build. Then we have the Town Archers who are using, well, if you see my previous videos, these are the exactly same items I've been running previously as well. No changes in there, and the Orb of Power is in here. Like I said, Pure Wizard is running 6.12 cooldown. I would need a better DCD IQ or a DCD IQ staff to get lower than that. But you will want to have at least one DCD IQ item for Pure Wizard if you want to run Pure Wizard or like a Devil Horn +5. Because of the 25 CDE cap currently. Angels are running the Static Orb so that they can deal a little bit more damage to bosses without needing to level them. They are just level 100,000, which for me is really like low level. You can keep them on level 10,000 early on for quite long time and there will be no issues. I'm kind of trying to do a double proccing Angels in here, so that's why I have double cooldown items for them. Ignore the fire runes. I was testing double proccing Fire Windy, which is strong, but yeah, good luck with your mana if you are double proccing Windy in this setup, in addition to all the mana cost. So yeah, ignore the fire runes. These could be attack speed runes instead. But I'm trying to do a double proccing. It's really like, it kind of works. I wish the cooldown was a little bit lower, so it would be more reliable, but this is... the reason they are next to Pure Wizard is because of the double proc. If you can't double proc, then you can have like easily Windy in here or Slingers next to Pure Wizard or something like that. Paladins, just damage reduction CDE items is what you want for them. And Slingers are running... Right now I'm trying this triple knockback with one slow line for this. I guess triple stun should work as well, but that's what I'm trying. And the physical orb to give them more attack speed, because they are not using the static orb, because that's on Angels. Then we have, of course, the leader, Solar, another fire unit in the build, extremely low level. She's not meant to be doing damage in this setup for me. She's just here to give plus 15% crit chance for Goblin and for Windy as well. So that's a huge crit chance buff. If you can't run this with Solar, you can try to run this build with Edward as well, to again have more bodies on the field and distract the enemies. I kinda just have CDE lines in here. I do have a slow line, and I do have one damage reduction line in here to make sure she doesn't die. She doesn't really take a lot of hits during runs, so that's convenient, but this is just to make sure that she survives. And maybe she applies a little bit of slow, that's a little bit of, it's like extra crowd control, I guess. The rest of the units basically just CDE lines. So nothing really important, interesting in here. Some skill creation on Necromancer, otherwise it's just CDE lines on all of these units. I would still want to hunt, like I said, this build would be so much better if I had a little bit lower Pure Wizard. So if I could get like DC Dagu staff, that would be super amazing. Deathworm, because we do need the mana recovery. I do have items for Deathworm, so these are something that need to be farmed for the runes after the update drops. There's a double critical in here, lightning damage is useless of course, and then there's double poison crit damage in here, with some attack speed as well. So basically crit chance, crit damage, poison damage, attack speed, that's what you want for your worm. And then I have the poison orb. I don't use the luck orb anywhere, so I could also use the luck orb for worm as well if needed. And then the skill tree. The monster lab, by the way, is on fire damage for everything that can get fire damage. If they can't get, then crit damage, and the bosses are on crit damage to take care of those a little bit faster. That's the monster lab, but the skill tree looks like this. So this is starting from the fire path, obviously to boost my fire unit's damage, because I want Goblin to be able to basically destroy everything. The Goblin nodes are in here. So if you run Goblin, you will want to have this section over here activated. Of course, you will want obviously all the damage increasing node in Fire Tree, and also, if possible, the decrease MP cost nodes as well, because yeah, the fire units cost insane amount of mana. The Windy node is basically this one for the Fire Tree, so you will want this one for increased damage for Tornado if you run Fire Windy. And then we have this section, which is for solar, but this is like more optional. If you don't have the points, I would probably just ignore this part of the fire skill tree, but otherwise you want the whole fire tree for this setup. And that's not all, because also the ice tree does boost your goblin and your windy, which is a little bit maybe surprising because it's ice tree, it's not fire tree. But in here we have the powder damage nodes. These increase your goblin's damage. So if you have the points, you will want these two nodes over here to increase your goblin's damage output. And in addition to that, we do have the tornado section in here that you will want to have, so that you can have tornado duration, but basically also some tornado increased damage nodes over here. And also this one, that tornadoes move from left to right during your wave. So that gives Fire Windy more damage output for the setup. So you will also need to have the Ice Tree in addition to Fire Tree to run a fire build. Yeah, makes complete sense, right? Other than that, we have obviously, again, Poison Tree for the Succubus. So the Succubus nodes over here, and then just the full Poison Tree for both Succubus and Deathworm MP recovery. So you will definitely want to boost your Deathworm's MP recovery. That's a certain. In the Summon Tree, basically it's just the Slinger Pierce node, the Sword node, and this one that makes your summoned units immune to knockback. It's really convenient with your paladins in the build. The Town Archer section, obviously, you will want to have for your, because we have Town Archers in the build, and in the physical tree, well, the Sword node, the Haste node for Town Archers, and then I have the defense for my Castellan units node in here. So that's probably also something you want in Devilhorn 5, because it is scary to run for sure. The Lightning Tree is much more optional. The things we have in here are basically just some attack speed to boost Angels with the Static Orb. Then we have the extra damage to stunned monsters, which is really not applied in my build currently. I should invest more in stun, probably. But the Lightning Tree is something that if you don't have the points to run this build, you probably drop the Lightning Tree completely, and there won't be that much difference in it. Of course, you want the Sword node if you can get that. But that is the skill tree, how it is looking like. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment. But before you go, I will let you enjoy a couple of waves from Calypso's account, so you can see how he is running this basically exactly the same setup, except with Horn and also Edward as a leader. So please enjoy, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye!